Hello and welcome to another edition of Conspirator Brock's Pull List. This is my pull list for the week of October 31st, 2018, 5-week month, and happy Halloween to everybody out there. Please be safe tonight when you go trick-or-treating, especially with the little ones. I'm going to go in a little while with mine, and my son dressed up as Ant-Man, and my daughter dressed up as Harley Quinn. So, yeah, proud comic book dad. But let's get right into the pull list. It is a fifth week, so some books come out fifth week. Normally it's a fairly light week, but this week there's a lot of books coming out. So first up we have Batman Secret Files #1. Some of you might be like, well, why do I want to get a Batman Secret Files thing? It's just a bunch of stories and blah, 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 blah. It's a bunch of good stories. I actually got a chance to already read this. It's definitely something to pick up. There is a Tom King story in here, which is really, really interesting. So, yeah, I would recommend picking this up. It is good. Next up, we have Britannia Lost Eagles of Rome #4. This series from Varaint has been pretty good. I've been enjoying it. I think this is the last issue for this one, so I'll most likely purge out the 4 issues I have. But it's good. It's interesting stuff. Next up, we have some more of the Hanna-Barbera crossovers from DC. First one is Deathstroke and Yogi Bear #1. Curious to see what the Hanna-Barbera crossovers are all about. The next one is Green Lantern and Huckleberry Hound. Looks like we got some protesting going on, so I'm curious to see what Mark Russell has in store for us in this one. Mark Russell does a really good job with his stuff, so I'm really excited. Next book is the big one for me that I'm super excited for, and I actually already read it, and that is Heroes in Crisis #2 of 9. This issue isn't anything that I would say is like, oh my god, what, like, is mind-blowing, but it's a good, solid second issue. I'm curious, really, really curious to see where things are going. The things that happen in this are really interesting, and it leads to a lot of questions of what is going to happen with the DC Universe going forward. So, we'll see. But Heroes in Crisis 2, pick it up. I'm going to reread it a bunch of times. Next up is a new #1 from Vertigo, and that is Hex Wives #1. The nice Joelle Jones art on the cover of this one. I'm curious to see how this one does. The new Vertigo books, I don't necessarily pick up all of them or check out all of them, but this one looked interesting enough, so I'm going to give it a try. Yeah, we'll see. Next up, we have Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth #1. This is the basic start of the Drowned Earth stuff. We've had some prelude tie-in books and some lead-in to it, but now we are fully into it. So basically, what you want to look out for when you're getting these is they have the prelude issues that came before, which I believe is Titans 28, Justice League #10, and Aquaman had a tie-in. I can't remember the last issue of Aquaman. But those tie-ins lead into this, which then will lead into the Justice League book having a chapter and Aquaman having a chapter, and then they'll finish it up with the Aquaman Justice League special. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. If you're curious about Drowned Earth, go track down those other issues, those prelude issues, and you can get on board. I've enjoyed it so far with what's come out in the prelude issues, so we'll see. Next up, we have Justice League Dark Wonder Woman The Witching Hour. This continues I think this finishes out the Witching Hour story arc, so I'm curious to see what happens with it. I've enjoyed it so far. Again, it's much like Drowned Earth, where there's some prelude issues, then there's the one of the one-shots, and the crossover issues, and then another one of the one-shots. So, yeah, good stuff. Next up, we have Nightwing and Magula Gorilla. Yeah, curious to see what this all entails with the Hanna-Barbera crossover. Next up is one for my son, and that's Star Wars Adventures #15 from IDW. Hopefully, once he starts reading them, he likes them. And Star Wars Adventures Tales from Vader's Castle #5 is out this week as well. That one I think should be done. It was a weekly series for 5 issues, so yeah. Next up is Stranger Things, number 2 of 4. I read the first issue and liked it, so I'm going to keep going with it. Jodie Hauser does a good job of telling what happens to I think it's Will in the underworld, or what the heck do they call it? I don't remember, but it's his story, which we didn't see in Stranger Things. So I'm really curious to see what that all entails. Next up, we have Superman and Top Cat. Yep, it's Superman and Top Cat. We'll see what shenanigans they get into in that book. Next up is one for my daughter, and that's Tangled, the series. This is Hair Raising Adventures, number 2. Yep. Hopefully we'll get to be able to sit down and read it at some point. Next up is the Terrifics Annual number 1, a New Age of Heroes book that is okay. Most of the New Age of Heroes books are not great titles. Majority of them are just ugh. A couple of them were okay, but for the most part, that whole line just wasn't good. Next up, we have the Wildstorm number 18, Warren Ellis's Wildstorm story. Man, I read this and I'm like, oh, it's good, and then I forget what was in the issue before, and it's good. I just don't know what half the time I'm reading. So, next up is one from Scott Snyder and Jacques, the artist. It's Wytches, the Bad Egg Halloween special. This collects everything that was in the Image plush issues that came out for the last about year with previews. I've been curious to read this since I haven't read it individually. I've liked Wytches, the series, so I hope they go back to giving us just a straight Wytches comic book, but we'll see. I did grab some variants this week. First up, I liked the Deathstroke and Yogi Bear variant. I thought that one was pretty cool. The one for Green Lantern and Huckleberry Hound was good, so I snagged that one up. Heroes in Crisis, of course, had their Polaroid file Polaroid cover. This was the basically the breaking of Batman, the traumatic event featured there. That was a pretty cool cover for Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth special. Snagged that one up. And of course, the Justice League Dark Wonder Woman, The Witching Hour, had its own, and that one was pretty intense, so I grabbed that one. And I liked this weird design for Stranger Things 2 with one of its variant covers, so I got that one. I did get some graphic novels that came out this week. First up is the hardcover version of The Man of Steel. This is Brian Michael Bendis' lead into his action run and his Superman run. So if you have not yet checked it out, I would highly recommend it. This collects issues 1 through 6 of The Man of Steel, and also the short story from DC Nation number 0. So if you've been on the fence about Bendis at DC, this is a good place to start. So yeah. And I got the Batman, the Dark Prince Charming. Basically, I guess you would call this a full entire collection. It's the size of an absolute, so it's really big. But I really enjoyed the series. I have the single issue hardcovers. There's only 2 of them, but they released a nice collected one here. So, yep. So I snagged that bad boy up. I know I haven't had too many of these on lately because apparently they keep canceling the orders for these, but I finally got a t-shirt in. Woohoo! It's been a while since I've had a new t-shirt, so this one I'm super excited to get because it is a Mr. Miracle t-shirt. Nice little Mr. Miracle poster there. Yep. I don't have a Mr. Miracle shirt, and now I do. I'm super stoked for it. So that's it for this week's pull list. Thanks again for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know what you're reading, any questions you have. I try and answer them. I try to get to them. But yeah, sometimes I'm just too busy. Sorry, but I try. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @BrockSager. You can also listen to me on the Comics Conspiracy Podcast, episode 374, we just recorded yesterday. Not too much comic book news this week, so we answered a bunch of listener Twitter questions, and we talked about variants, and we talked about other stuff. So yeah, we filled an hour and 45 minutes of time. So if you want to check me out, you can head on over. There'll be a link in the description below for that. You can help me and my fellow conspirators out through Patreon at www.patreon.com/comicsconspiracy. For as little as $1 a month, you help us with hosting fees, getting food sometimes before a podcast, and for us to get product. So we do appreciate it. It does help alleviate the wallet when it comes to getting things, and it is greatly appreciated. So yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it. You can also help me out a little more directly if you want. Any of the Amazon links on conspiratorbrock.com that take you to like the Man of Steel graphic novel or the Batman Dark Prince Charming, and you purchase those through Amazon. Those help me out a little bit. And also I have I'm constantly cycling through stuff and purging, so my eBay page has stuff I have up for sale, so you can check that out there. There's a link in the description below for the eBay store, and if there's any time I'm selling or any time I'm talking about something, there's normally an Amazon link if it is available on Amazon. So thank you all for your support and your help out. It means a lot. Yeah, it's Halloween. I'm gonna have to take my kids walking to get some sugar, which they're not going to eat because the candy from last year I threw away like a few weeks ago and they never touched it. Probably because I had it up in a high spot and they just forgot about it. Good hint if you're a parent. Hide the candy high up where they won't see it. And yeah, if you do that, then yeah, they don't need it. They don't need it. They don't. Kids don't need that much candy. So I'll let my kids eat a little bit of it. So yeah. All right, I have to go trick or treat. Hope you guys have fun on this Halloween. Hope you're safe, and I will see you next week.